But maybe we're doing that when the creative work.
Okay, I'm going to call this meeting to order. Wait, ask you to start the recording. Who's going? Okay. All right. Welcome to the Syracuse City Business Meeting for February. And it's also Valentine's and Single Awareness Day. So welcome, whichever you celebrate on this wonderful day. We're going to begin with an invocation by Jordan, and we'll have Jen lead us in the pledge, and then we will move on from there.
Our Father in heaven, we are truly grateful to be gathered together today. Grateful for the opportunities we have to provide service. Bless all of us as we seek to help those around us, that we can be magnified in our efforts, that we can make wise decisions, that we can know how best to serve thee and our neighbors and friends and the citizens of this community. Please bless the businesses, that they can be successful as they seek to, again, serve those around them. We are grateful for the moisture we've received, and please continue to bless us with thy abundance. We are truly grateful, and these things we pray in Jesus' name, amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I need a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, it's unanimous. And just since it is a holiday, I will do my part to keep the agenda moving tonight. I promise, council. And thank you for coming out on a holiday. Our first item of business tonight is recognition of a Utah Supervisory Fire Officer designation. So if we could get Chief Byington to come up here and take care of that.
Yes.
We're always excited for our firefighters to accomplish.
Well, thanks for letting us have a little bit of time on your busy agenda and on a holiday. So I'd like to ask firefighter Brockman Hondo to come up. Brockman Hondo has been awarded the Utah Supervisory Fire Officer designation as outlined by the International Association of Fire Chiefs and adopted by the Utah Commission on Fire Officer Designation. Don't be afraid. Firefighter Minhondo has combined hundreds of hours of training, education, and experience to meet the requirements for this designation. His hard work and commitment to this process shows his dedication not only to the Utah State Fire Service, but to Syracuse City and our department. Please join me in congratulating firefighter Brockman Hondo. They've given him a nice certificate framed, and then there's a pin on the back for him. So.
Wait, do that again. Don't photobomb it.
Whole audience.
Okay.
The Lori was horribly photobombing it. That's adorable.
All right. We are grateful for that, and it's always a wonderful thing to celebrate. The next item on our agenda tonight is public comment. Public comment is a chance for you, the citizens, to bring to our attention something that you'd like us to consider that may not be on our agenda, or it may be to consider your feelings on a subject that we may be discussing. We do not have a public hearing scheduled tonight, so this would be your chance to say something in the meeting if you'd like to. Oh, you're right. You're right. I thought there was one for public. Okay, so other than the fee schedule, this would be your only chance to say something about what we're talking about tonight. So you have 3 minutes.
Mayor, council members, thank you for this opportunity to take a little bit of your time. My name is Kay Volk. I live at 2783 South on 1000 West. I've lived in that home for, it will be 52 years in July. So I've been here a while, watched a bit of growth, served on the city council for 6 years, a number of years ago. So I have some empathy for what you go through on a very regular basis and very little pay. I know that. I'm here to address something that several of my neighbors and friends are in the audience tonight, something that we received yesterday in the mail. Kind of blindsided all of us. We actually knew about it when a neighbor walked over and informed us that they are wanting the business there on 2700 1000 West and the house right south of it, which is right next to our house, has petitioned the Planning Commission for a public hearing and rezoning from their, I think it's commercial low density, R1 or 2, I believe, to industrial. It doesn't really fit. We have been there, as I said, though many years, the neighbors have as many years. The business there is Earthworks. They've been pretty good neighbors. They really have. They've enhanced the frontage area. We've really done some nice things there. And full disclosure, after a year of putting up with the beep, beep, beeps outside my window, which is just across this small yard, I finally approached them with an alternative, which is something I'd like to take up with you. Sometimes there is an OSHA compliant sound that you can put, and you don't have to have the beep beeps. They were willing to do that on as many vehicles as they could. That helped. The problem is that, and to their credit, they have grown. They have grown a lot, and the vehicles that come and go there are just getting more and more. They've been parking across the street. They're coming and going. We've had incidents of people saying they've had to watch their children as the trucks come and go. And I know that giving them those 2 properties in an industrial zone makes sense to them, and it would benefit a very few. The impact to all of us that have been there for so many years, and more than I can even begin to count, is negative. At the best, and we've tried to be good neighbors too. Their engines start at 5:30 in the morning in the summer and run and idle, and they have a snow removal service, or at least they did. And you can hear those engines start sometimes at 2 in the morning. And so you just kind of say, okay, this is what it is, but it's grown beyond. And as hard as we want to say this, and it's not personal, they've outgrown their space. And they perhaps really need to look at a new space rather than trying to change their zoning to an industrial. This creates what I understood as I served on the council as an island. And you just don't do that. You just don't create it. I know we're ahead of the game. They are just making this, like I said, this card came, it's the 21st next Tuesday. We will be there, but we just wanted to be ahead of the game and letting you know there's a great many that are in opposition to this. And we just want to go forward. And like I said, it is not personal. It's a matter of the environment that would impact so many of us in that area. And anyone that drives through that roundabout is crazy at times. And they are just at the corner from that, just a few minutes drive. So if you haven't driven down there in the last little while, I really urge you to do so and see what they're talking about. I know this is coming new to many of you, but again, thank you so much. Appreciate your service and what you do, and hope when it comes to you that you'll consider the impact that it will make on so many. Thank you.
Thank you. Any others?
Thank you. I'm here for my husband and I, Steve and Christy Randall. We live at 869 West, 2700 South. We are 4 or 5 houses down from Earthworks. And for us, it's a big deal. Just the thought of having an industrial site right there. We moved up here from Phoenix, Arizona area in 2009. We lived in Surprise, Arizona, which is about a half hour away from Phoenix. And due to the heat, as well as the smut and smog from that area, I suffered from migraines, and I had one that was so bad that they thought I had a stroke. And in 2008, we made the decision that it was time to leave the area. My husband had employment up here, and so we moved. And so having that right there on our doorstep, basically, will we be able to live there? Will we be able to remain there? We're this far away from Salt Lake, which is great. I still get the migraines, but for the neat thing about our neighborhood, Walnut Grove, and all those people that live there is that our kids have been able to grow together. They've gone on, they're having their own families, and several of us are now getting close to empty nesters. And so the older people that were there before us, they're aging, we're all aging together, but we've been there since 2009. My neighbor's been there for 45 years, and we like our community. We are directly across the street from a major park. We're on the back side of Leffridge Elementary School. The kids go through that roundabout like nothing, like ants at a picnic. And we also have a church right across the street from Earthworks. And so it's a major habitat. It's a major area. During summer and spring, there's soccer and football, and the streets are lined with cars, and it's busy. And I don't see how Gordon would not be staying busy, and how they would operate their machinery and what have you around our kids. A few years back, there was 2 kids hit on Gordon, and both were fine, but it happened within a short amount of time. Kids are busy. They don't pay attention to cars and so forth, and we need to help them out. And having this, it's great that Earthworks has grown, but we have the right to stay and have generational homes and generational neighborhoods and so forth. And that was part of the what brought us to Syracuse to begin with, was the home and the community, sense of community that's there. So I thank you for your time. Thank you for your consideration. And we just kind of want to keep our neighborhood the way it is. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Stephen Randall. I'd just like to bring up, and it'll be very short, but right now we're looking at zoning that for industrial, and they are there. Well, what if they decide they get bigger and they've got the zoning for industrial, and then they leave and move? What are we looking at being able to come in there? What kind of an industry? And that's my concern, is that right now we kind of understand what they want to do. They want to grow and they want to have their vehicles in there and everything, and their salt and all that. But once it gets zoned, what does that open up later on to the community there? And that's what I'd just like to be looked at, is what impact does it do, not just tomorrow, but 5 years, 10 years from now, on that same small community, and making that an island, an industrial area right in the middle of all houses. And so, thank you.
My name is Bruce Staley. I live on 2738 South, 1000 West. I'm right across the street from what they're all talking about. I don't know that I have a lot more that I can add to what they've already said, but just the impact it would have on the area, the value of our homes, of our lifestyle, the children, the young families that move there. I just don't see anything positive about having an industrial area. A few years ago, I had the opportunity to be on a committee that Mayor Gailey set up that had community members come in. And we looked at the master plan of Syracuse and looked at where we could have the different areas and for industry and commercial. And there's places zoned in Syracuse for industrial. There's not really a reason why we need to open up more in the middle of a residential area. Also, another just personal experience is my daughter lived in Salt Lake for just a short while. Fortunately, she moved from there, but she lived in an area where there were 5 homes left. And exactly what happened there, I fear happening in places like Syracuse, where you have homes and then that industrial area just engulfs it. And is literally a concrete jungle around the house she lived in. I'm just glad she was able to find somewhere else. But anyway, I just appreciate your consideration on this and the impact it would have, and think how you would feel if this is in your backyard. Thank you.
Good evening, council members. Thank you for listening to me, and happy Valentine's Day. I will make this brief and quick. I am Dwayne and Jennifer Rouse, and my husband's Dwayne Rouse, and we live on 946 West, 2800 South, just right around the corner from Earthworks. I have been there my whole life, and I'm 52. Yes, I'm old. I have 4 children and grandchildren who I have loved to walk around the block there. I do find this really nervousing and scary, seeing the growth that's already. I'm happy for Earthworks. I really am, that they are growing. I have friends that have had work done by this company, and they're good. They're good at what they do. It's just the place, and that it is so busy, and already it is getting worse and worse. Several times I have walked around that block with my little grandson. On one occasion, I'm glad that I was paying attention, but the truck backed out pretty quickly, and I had to grab my little grandson and hold him back, or else we would have been hit. Also, I have noticed that they park. There are so many vehicles right there that they park on the sidewalk. And I encourage you, like Kay said, to really go and look at that area. There are several incidences that they are parking on the sidewalk. And if I am traveling from Gordon, 2700 down to 1000 heading south, I have to veer around and go into the street to get around their trucks. And I fear for the children that are coming to and from school. And I know there is crossing guards, but if the children are heading south and they live on the east side of 1000 West, they have to veer around those trucks, and it's just going to cause more and more congestion there. And that is a big fear of mine. I also wanted to bring up something Carla Robinette, who could not be here tonight. Her husband, Tim Robinette, was on the council many years ago. And this is what she says: in 2019, all of the above, as well as group of 45 or so citizens named as a focus group, spent many hours coming up with a proposal, a master plan. They titled the plan Visioning for the Year 2050. In the plan, it was recommended that the corner stay as commercial. Their plan identified zones for future, more industrial types of growth in locations that are not fully developed. This area has been zoned residential farmland for over 100 years, and it worked. Anyway, thank you for your time and consideration, and hopefully this will not pass. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close public hearing. Just by way of procedure for the general public, we don't comment on things that are not on our agenda. This item is not on our agenda, so we won't be discussing it tonight, but it will come up at a future time when it's been published for all. The other thing that I just want to point out to all of our citizens is anytime anyone makes an application, we are obligated to hear that application. So whenever anyone gets a notice, that doesn't mean that we are for or against anything that comes up. It's just, we're obligated to hear it. So, all right, moving on.
Dave.
Mayor?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. We just had one emailed public comment.
Oh, okay. Would you please read that?
Yeah, this is from Jen Beckstrand. She says, I'd like to ask that the city place a moratorium on MXD use zoning and the development of any more high density housing until the school situation is handled. I attended last week's planning committee meeting, and it made me sick to see all the housing that is coming in just north of Syracuse High. While I understand that these developments have already been approved and will be coming in no matter what, I can't wrap my head around the impact that it will have on our schools, especially with the hundreds of apartments coming in along Antelope. I'm a fourth grade teacher of 31 students at Syracuse Elementary, and I wish you would walk our halls and see just how crowded we are. But sadly, we're not the worst. Cook Elementary is popping at the seams, as are the junior high and high school. All of these new apartments, et cetera, will be within Syracuse Elementary and Cook Elementary boundaries. Cook is already trying to figure out a solution by going either all year, an option that most hate, especially when they also have students in secondary schools that won't go year round, or creating new boundaries. The new boundaries will move approximately 50 more students into both Syracuse and Bluff Ridge Elementary. Cook will still be over capacity, and the other schools affected will be pushed further over capacity as well, especially with the apartments coming into their own boundaries. As for the junior high and high school, all you have to do is drive past in the morning during drop-off or walk the halls for 5 minutes to see just how bad the overcrowding is. They literally have cities of portables, and the students don't even want to eat lunch because who wants to spend 15 minutes waiting in line to get lunch when it's the only time off in the day to take a break? The district has made plans to help out by building new schools, but these schools won't be ready for years. So I ask that the city place a moratorium on MXD use and high-density building until that time that these new schools are built and the burden on the schools, the employees, and the students themselves is eased. Thank you.
Okay. And with that, I'll close public comment. Our next item of business is approval of minutes. I have 2 sets of minutes for you tonight, January 10th and January 24th. Are there any revisions to that or discussion?
No, look good to me. I
Take
move
a
that we
motion.
approve the minutes.
Second.
Motioned and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
I don't think they're the right ones on the screen up there. Or
Uh-uh.
wherever the screen is.
They are not.
No, they said the 24th.
The ones on the agenda would be January 10th and 24th.
Yep.
All right, item number 5, proposed resolution R 23-05, appointing mayor and city council members to various committee positions and assignments for this coming year. We discussed this in the last work session. Are there any comments on this?
Nope.
If not, I'll take a motion.
Motion to approve resolution R 2305, appointing mayor and city council members to various committee positions and assignments.
There was the name on that night out. It's the public safety open house. That's a different name. That's all that's.
Oh.
different.
Okay,
So yeah, that just needs changed.
okay.
And-
You get to hang out with me,
and
Paul.
updating-
Sorry, I
And
adopted you.
updating the names
Updating the name to, okay.
of the night out against crime. To
Second.
All right, motion and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Item number 6 is the public hearing that we had scheduled. This is going to be about fee schedule adjustments, and I'm going to turn over a few minutes to Mr. Marshall to discuss these changes.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a quick recap. We discussed this in the last work session. How we had 2 impact fee plans we wanted to update, the stormwater and the public safety. Those are scheduled changes in our IFA plans. Then we had the overhaul of the code enforcement section of our fee schedule. There were quite a few fines that we consolidated and condensed down into 4 different fees. We also wanted to add a water theft fee for $1,500 for commercial and $250 for non-commercial. We had some clarification on the parking ticket fee reduction, allowing that to be an in-person or electronic notification. And then from our discussion in that meeting we discussed a reduction of our impact fees for accessory dwelling units for our parks, trails, recreation, our transportation and safety, public safety impact fees to do a 50% of the normal fee for those impacts. And then from our last meeting, we had a proposal added for a pre-application consultation fee of $200. Those items are in red in the packet because they were added or changed since we last discussed them. And that's everything.
Okay, before we begin discussion, I'm going to open this up to public hearing. If anybody has any questions or comments on this proposed adjustment. Seeing none, I will close public hearing and open it up to council for any discussion.
Yeah, so I'm fine with all of them. I think we discussed all of them. The only one I wasn't necessarily kosher with, at least on a personal level, was the pre-application fee. I didn't remember us talking about that more recently. And so, and when we did discuss it in the past, I wasn't necessarily in favor of it, but that's just my opinion.
That's mine as well. And that was the one concern I have. I feel like we have so many fees that we levy. And I'm not comfortable charging to have them consult with the city council.
I agree with both of them.
Okay,
What was the reasoning behind that?
I don't really remember us discussing that part of it.
so that, I'll just say this was discussed in a past meeting. My recollection is that it does require staff time and that staff time should be equivalent to a fee that would be taken care of. So that's my recollection of it. If you'd like to go into that particular one any deeper, I can bring the
Yes, please.
director to the table. Noah, would you come to the microphone, please? One of the microphones. If you have any questions for Noah about this, go ahead.
Yeah, we discussed it in a meeting and we said, yes, we want to establish this process, and we amended the ordinance. And the ordinance says that they shall apply, but we didn't really take it from there. So we didn't have an application and we didn't know what the fee should be. So it's just a matter of housekeeping because we do have somebody interested in applying for that. And so, yeah, that was to cover staff time and getting on an agenda and stuff. So that was where we started.
More than like $50 if at all.
But yeah, I guess my recollection of it was not as much like, yes, let's do this. This is awesome. My recollection was they can access the council in any setting regardless. And so this was more of an opportunity to formalize it, I guess, to some extent, but I was never in support of like getting it an agenda paid for service.
Yeah, I remember there was some debate and it wasn't a slam dunk by any means, but it did pass and it was codified to formalize that. So yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, people can talk with their city council and consult with them, but if they want to get, if they want to efficiently get everybody's take and first take on a proposed development, they can come here and they can apply for that, and that will give them a chance to be on the agenda.
I do actually remember that conversation, and but I do also recall that my stance was more along the lines of they should be able to access us individually or as a group. If they want to wait for a group, it would be in front of, it would be a meeting like
these were
this.
two different conversations that were combined into one, like the one that we had about the fees and then the one we had about them being able to come and present to us, giving them an open door. Because I don't talk to people, to developers on the sideline. That's one of the things that we said.
Remember the conversation?
That conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I believe, and like you said, I think there may have been some miscommunication, but to be clear on my part, I don't believe that we should be charging an extra fee in order for them to discuss. I understand that if they want to, that they could come and present it to us and get everybody's feedback. But I think they can also do that on the side at their own convenience and our convenience. Because clearly, even if they talk to just me alone, I'm one vote of 5, so I have no power to sway anything. And I also think that the staff time is already compensated. So, and this is what they do. So I'm uncomfortable with an additional fee for our citizens.
I agree with you.
Along those same lines, I think I'm willing to grant anyone 10 minutes to come and present a good idea. So if this falls into that, I'm okay removing this. Obviously, if we get overwhelmed, we're going to have to put in some gates to this. At that point, I think we could move forward to this. But in the meantime, I think I'd love to hear people's good ideas, and let's hear them without. For now, let's see what they've got. So I'm in favor of moving forward with the rest of these fees. In fact, I'll make the motion. I motion that we accept proposed resolution R23-04 but removing for now the pre-application consultation of $200.
A second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Let's move on to item number 7, consideration and action of proposed memorandum of understanding with Neutron Holdings. This would be the Lime Bike people.
Just a cool name.
Noah, would you just give, I mean, we've talked about this before, so would you just give us a really quick preface?
Yeah, an MOU is kind of like a non-binding kind of thing. It's just, we're just establishing what we expect from each other, and they want to give it a go. They'll get a business license to operate, just similar to the other company that we had previously.
Okay. Any discussion amongst council?
One thing that we've added into this agreement is a specific boundaries of the city. So, but what I didn't see is, are we asking them to not operate outside of those? Or are we just telling them, here's where we are?
Here's our.
I don't-
It wasn't clear what the purpose of that was.
I don't think that came from us. I think that's their language they put in their understanding of us.
So that they know where their boundary is with us and all of
Where they
this
can
only.
provide-
So we can't get out to Antelope
Whatever they do
Island.
outside of our boundaries, none of our business.
We talked about being able to ride those
Doesn't-
scooters out to Antelope
Doesn't
Island and
say it
doesn't.
won't operate outside of those boundaries, but it specifically said Syracuse city limits highlighted in orange. And so,
I think that's
Probably
just-
programmable.
That's the limits of our understanding.
okay, that's the limits of
I don't think that that's a prohibits.
Of our-
anything
our-
outside.
authority.
Yeah. I
Okay.
think
Yeah,
that's all.
The agreement does say that we can limit if we want in the future, but that's just identifying
Okay,
what our city boundary is.
that's what I thought. I just wanted to get it
Okay,
clarified.
so do I have a motion? Because I think we're all agreed on this.
I move. No, I don't, because I can't find it. Okay, there we go. I move that we approve ordinance 2023-02, amending this.
Oh,
Nope.
nope.
See, you see
Oh,
why I said 7. Sorry, I slid down.
This is just. a
Here we are.
memorandum of Understanding.
Get it together.
I propose that we approve. There's no information.
Memorandum of understanding with
There's no number.
holdings.
Thank you.
Second.
All right, we have a collective motion and a second. All in
I
favor?
apologize.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that memorandum of understanding passes. Next item would be proposed ordinance 2023-02, amending the city's zoning map for properties at 3176 West, 1700 South, from agriculture A1 to general commercial. Would you just give us a quick preface on this, Noah?
Yeah, this is the property next to the golf course clubhouse. Everything around it is zoned commercial, so it's kind of a how, and I think it does include actually the clubhouse itself. So it's just kind of housekeeping. They're doing commercial stuff and want to build a restaurant there.
Does anybody have any?
I heard a rumor
Well, okay, look, this is not
Whoa.
rumors.
about this
This is just about this
parcel,
Yeah.
this one right here that we're talking about.
So you want to discuss this?
Well, I heard that something about, I know they want to put that venue in right here, right?
Well, okay, so right now it's just about whether we're going to rezone
Rezone it, yeah.
the map.
I can comment on just the general
Yeah,
process to
I'll-
maybe
we'll ask
clarify
about it
that.
later. I'll-
Okay, we can talk after.
I think I think the biggest issue, right, was that these things that they want to put in there were not specifically mentioned in the zone. And so we want to
Right.
change
That
it
would be
to
a-
be an appropriate, so it gives the description of what they want to include. And I think it's a good fit.
Yeah, the specific uses would be a different application if that's what you're talking
Yeah.
about. Yeah. That's a separate application, but tonight it's just the rezone of the property.
So then I would take, make a motion that we approve proposed ordinance 2023-02.
Okay,
Second.
motion and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes
See
unanimously.
where this goes.
Consideration of action of proposed development agreement with Ivory Homes pertaining to phase 1 of Legacy Parks subdivision. Noah, would you give us a brief overview there?
Yes, they want to build some homes or get going on some homes. just a little bit before they start the next phase where the sewer connection will happen. So this agreement would allow them to get going on some homes that they plan on doing a model home in. And then they also plan on beginning their construction on phase 2 here this spring. So they think that the phase 2 at the sewer line will be done before the homes, but
Okay.
if they don't, there's some protections in there as well.
All right, discussion.
This is actually the very first home they're building there, so they can't, it's their model home. So that's like the whole reason that I think most of us were okay with it, because they can't build anything else without that one going up first. So it's pretty, all the road right there will be in and everything and all that before they get that first house built up.
There is risk here. I mean, I don't want to dismiss that.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
But the risk is not the city.
This-
Yeah, it's theirs.
And we've listed that in there, right? The city's not liable for if the occupancy is denied. And I think this just makes sense to help them not have to, they're waiting for a portion of the sewer to be built. And so this to me makes sense. And especially if we have these anticipatory barriers to us being liable, I think this is a good move.
I was just going to add, just to be clear, there are lots that do have sewer in that same phase that they could build on. I know that there was a comment that might have made somebody confused.
Yeah, they're wanting to build one of the lots that's not able to be sewered at this time. I'm not voting on this, but I am concerned about setting a precedent because the liability is theirs. It's not ours, but it is. I would hate to be the bad guy because they couldn't get occupancy when we know right up front that's going to be a problem.
But we won't be the bad guy because we're talking about now. We can refer to the video.
Mark,
I mean, they're the
I
ones
guess
coming to us.
this is just one of those where you
Yeah.
know that there's going to be a problem. And if it comes up, nobody remembers that it wasn't, that we knew it was going to be a problem.
I'll remember.
Okay.
I may not be able to make a motion very well, but I'll remember this.
All right.
Time
Can I get a motion?
Not from me.
I move that we approve the proposed development agreement with Ivory Homes on phase 1 of the Legacy Park subdivision.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded, all in favor.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes unanimous. Proposed ordinance 2023-03, amending Syracuse City Code Section 10.30.60 related to fencing regulations. We talked about this quite some time ago, but it
I do.
It's been a while.
it has been a while, but the reason that it took a while is then it had to go to planning commission and then come back.
I can remind you of it real quick. Jordan said he didn't want it to be like Chicago. I had your back on that, Jordan, by the
All
way.
right. So you do have 4 options. You have an option that was recommended by planning commission, which my recollection concurs with the option that this council agreed with before we sent it to city council. So it's up to you. But if you want to discuss it or you want to make a motion on one of those options.
The only, the question I have is how are we measuring 70% openness? Like, is that like a slatted fence, like a picket fence? Is that 70% or is that 50%?
Depends on how.
Well, I mean, theoretically, you'd have to measure the distance of the period of the slat distance and then just calculate what the
I guess.
cover distance is.
This is why we have Steve for math. We don't do this math.
Yeah, luckily fencing comes in panels that's
Okay.
repeated, so you could calculate it per panel and understand what it
Already
is.
lost me.
That's fine. Okay.
So 70% is easy to calculate. What I appreciated from this was what I can see is the sheer amount of research that went into this. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 different ordinances from various cities outlining. I did talk to the person that requested this. The reason for the going to 4 foot is 4 foot is a more standard fence height that you can purchase more easily. The 3 foot was a little bit of a
Was less.
one-off. I know they're not thrilled with the 70%, but I think this does create a balance between ease of purchase and the safety of the children, which was most of our concern. Is as you get higher, you're afraid that cars won't see the kid on the tricycle riding along. And the 70% obscurity seems to be in line with many of the cities around us, and balances both safety and cost. So I'm in favor of this.
Would you like to make a motion?
I move that we approve ordinance 2023-03, amending Syracuse City Code 10.30.060 related to fencing regulation for that line impact.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Item number 11, proposed ordinance 2023-04, amending Syracuse City General Plan, updating the components of the plan addressing moderate income housing. This is just some small updates to get our submission to the legislature approved. We'd already approved the bulk of this, so this is pretty small technicalities. But if anybody'd like to discuss it, we can.
This is what we got the "you failed" email on, right? And we have it
Yes.
fixed.
Yes, that is correct.
Public is public.
Enough.
I will say, I'm gonna comment because why?
Go ahead. It's your
I-
Valentine's Day.
I do believe that we ought to add just a brief statement about the ADU discount we just put in place for
That's a good idea.
attached ADUs. And I think we have a section for zone rezone for, let's see, which one was it?
Or do we want to save that, Jordan, for the next year?
I know.
It's required.
Now, to be
Don't
clear-
stack the deck, Jordan.
To be clear, I don't believe that you have to do 3 every year. You just have to be working on 3.
I did get clarification on that from the speaker himself, and you can do the same 3 year after year.
Okay.
So by putting it in here, it just shows that we work.
We're really serious.
That
Go ahead and stack the deck, Jordan.
So, again, you guys can take or leave that. I'm just saying, we did it, you might as well take credit.
What was the second? You said the ADU reduction in fees, and did you say something?
Oh, no, just
that.
Just
Yeah.
that.
You'd add
If that's easy to add, then
I agree with that.
I think it's a good.
I guess it's
Maybe
not
you could
clear
add
which zone
that
it would go in.
Maybe you could add that to your motion.
You know what, I don't see it as one of, it's not a good fit in any of those. So I am going to
Noah would find it.
remove what that said, and we can add it later date.
A motion to approve as is.
Okay, motion to approve as
Second.
is and seconded. All in favor?
I.
Any opposed?
I didn't want to hear what Noah was going to say, though.
I was just gonna say that it is its own strategy that we
Yeah.
hadn't selected, so that's why it wasn't in the plan,
Oh.
but you could just list that strategy
On it.
and say we did it.
Or
As a fourth separate.
Okay.
Yeah, if we want to be
Already made
teachers'
motion
pets.
And
that's what I was going to say. No, I'm so excited and
I don't know how
would
excited.
you like to reconsider?
Send that?
And we can reconsider.
I would like to see, Noah, does that make sense to add it in, or is it gonna change anything, or should we just?
No,
I just.
it's fine. It's
Any
easy.
one of you can call for reconsideration.
I'd like to call for reconsideration.
All right, we have a motion for reconsideration.
Second.
All in favor of reconsidering this motion?
I.
Nay.
I.
Any opposed? Okay, so we're
Looks like we were
bringing
good.
back this motion.
So the only reason for my motivation here is I believe that we are going to each year. We have seen the trend that the state is going to continue to push for additional investment in this type of thing. And so I don't think by adding a 4th, we do any harm. In fact, it might save us an update 2
Okay.
months from now. Or 2 months from now, when the legislation session ends.
Yeah. Well, and I also think that we really did do this because of the request from the legislature, as well as seeing the need and having citizens request it. So I think that it's definitely something we should include to let them know that we've taken their requirements seriously, but also their invitation to address it.
Yeah, we earned it. Might as
This
well stick it
this
in
could
there.
be as simple as restating the motion to include that 4th item.
Who made the motion? I'm gonna let them have the opportunity.
Seth,
There you go, Seth.
I move that we approve this as is. No, I'm just kidding. Hold on, let me find, okay. I move that we approve a proposed ordinance 2023-04, amending the general plan with the moderate income housing statements in there with the addition of the reduction in accessory dwelling unit fees.
Okay,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion now passes as amended. Okay, the next item
about
is
that.
proposed resolution 2306, approving authorization of execution of the interlocal cooperation agreement with North Davis Metro SWAT Team. Since Chief Atkins out of town, Assistant Chief Rogers, would you like to take this one?
Sure.
That why you're here?
Yeah.
Good.
What questions? Yeah.
So this is an agreement that we have every year. Has it changed any from last year?
No.
So we're just re-upping this.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So unless there's any discussion, we could just take a motion.
I move that we accept proposed resolution R 23-06, approving and authorizing the execution of the interlocal cooperation agreement for the North Davis Metro SWAT Team.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Right.
opposed? Okay, that motion passes unanimous. And now the next item also with Chief Rogers, surplus police equipment. There are two categories here. Would you briefly mention what we are surplusing?
Yeah, so the first one, letter A there is for the surplus of vehicles. We've got a couple of vehicles that have met the mileage, and then we have a third vehicle that's just the repairs. It's due to be replaced next year, but the repairs are just so expensive that we actually we're gonna have to tow it down to get all the equipment stripped out of it because it's just not drivable anymore. So,
Okay.
so that's the three vehicles I have on there.
And we can do both of these at once. So if you want to mention the second one.
So every year we get bicycles, all kind of bicycles, and they're found at people's yards, they're found at parks, and they turn into us. And a lot of them are really they're in bad shape. So what we do is we donate them to the Children's Justice Center, and what they do is they do a fundraiser where they fix them up and then they sell them to raise money for the Children's Justice Center in Farmington. And we've done a pretty good job of keeping up on this the last couple of years, that now that there's only 5 on the list, where in previous years we've had 20, 30 bicycles on there. So, and then, like I said, we like to advertise that in the city connection too, to let the public know that they can go purchase a bicycle, and then their funds go for a good cause.
Now, if someone looks on this list and says, "Hey, that looks like my bike," and they still claim it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Make sure that was.
Yeah, we've actually had that happen in the past where we had such a big list. Oh no, that's my bike, and they came in and we released it to them. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So council, do we have any further discussion? Could I get a motion?
I move that we surplus the equipment as outlined in the packet.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any opposed or all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Chief, actually had this for you.
It's a cookie.
But I didn't get your attention before the meeting.
Both of my daughters work there, so I used to get free ones like all the time.
All right.
Are you bragging or
Has nothing to do with you.
So next item on the agenda, authorize administration to execute underground right-of-way easement with Rocky Mountain Power for new power transformer at Stoker Park. Robert.
So with the improvements planned for Stoker Park, it does require an additional power transformer. They would locate that in the southeast corner of the park, and they need an easement to run the power line up to the transformer.
So are LED lights taking a transformer's worth of power?
They're adding a booster for the sprinkler system.
Okay. Pumps.
But there's power there right now that's already being used, but with restroom and lights and other power needs, this will just require additional power beyond what it can currently handle.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Makes sense. Yeah.
Okay, I'll take a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we authorize administration to execute underground right-of-way easement with Rocky Mountain Power for a new power transformer in Stoker Park.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we're done with that. Robert, you also weren't here early enough to get your reward. So,
Oh,
here's your good job.
thank you.
And Mr. Steve has a thing for your wife because Valentine's Day.
All right, authorize administration. Next item is authorize administration to award utility infrastructure contract with Maryland,
Don't take it that
Maryland
way.
Acres Phase 6. I have documents here that say Phase 5.
It is phase 6 in the
Okay.
packet. So there was a phase 5 that was already awarded and will be beginning construction soon.
Okay.
And that is in the same neighborhood. That one takes care of 1250 West and 1350 South, which borders Cook Elementary School.
Okay.
This phase 6 is primarily 1575 South, which fronts Stoker's Park and will be done in conjunction with the park to improve the parking lot area and that. And then also 1290 South, which is up by the cemetery. So we had bids open on January 31st and low bidders Leon Paulson. We had budgeted just over like 3.2 million for this. The bid came in at 2.088 million. So it is within budget, and
We love savings. We won't reject that.
One thing I was curious about is historically, we usually have a few bidders. Why just one? Do we have any reason that?
contractors are already starting to line up their work, and it's becoming harder to get contractors because there's a lot of work still happening out there.
Interesting.
Leon Paulson, though, I will mention in the last 3, maybe 4 bids that we had, they came in second as a very low bid. They have also worked with the city in the past numerous times and has done a great job for the city.
Great. That being the case, I move that we authorize administration to award utility infrastructure contract to Maryland Acres Phase 6 to Leon Polson Construction Company.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Next one, authorize administration to execute federal aid agreement to fund for 500 West Phase 2 project. Again, Robert.
So 500 West Phase 1 was complete, as you know. The Phase 2 takes it from about Barlow Park going south down to we say 2800 South. That's not a road, but just south of 2700 South. It would finish out the widening on the shoulder on the west side of the road and complete it with intersection improvements at 2700 South and 500 West. With turning lanes and with traffic signal at that intersection. The city applied for the grant back in 2019. It was approved for 3.7 million. We did consider inflation even back then with the application. And our match is only 6.77%, very low amount. Before we can get started, though, with any funding, the federal aid agreement must be signed and approved, and then UDOT at that point will take over project management of the project and then begin allocating money. At that point, we can begin getting an engineering company on board to do the design. And UDOT handles that process on onboarding the engineering firm and they take care of the bidding documents. And so time frame, we are anticipating design happening through all this spring, summer, and then fall. And then by probably next winter, like maybe December or January, we could see some bids. Is this going out to bid with construction happening, maybe as early as February next year into probably Thanksgiving. It'll be a long construction window, but that's where we're at.
That was my question. It seems like an excessively long transition from now till then. Is there I've had several people ask me when it was expected to be done. They said, didn't this start several years ago? I said, yes.
Yeah.
So do you have any thoughts on what the extenuating circumstances could be or is this just an
Federal.
average thing? That's what I said.
Yeah.
Federal
Federal.
funding tends to.
It definitely lengthens the process.
Okay.
There is a lot more involved going through UDOT's process. If it was something that the city could just do on our own, we funded it ourselves, we could do this in a year or less.
Okay.
Primarily, the intersection is going to take the bulk of it. There is some a little bit of land strips that will take, not entire properties or houses now. But just some strips of land just to get enough for turn pockets and widenings, but not a big impact, but it definitely takes some time to go through that process.
So anytime we're working in tandem with federal and grants and things like that, it does. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, our last one we did was the Bluff Gentile roundabout, and that, if you remember, took a few years.
That's good to bring our citizens aware. I mean, we love to get the help with the money, but it does slow down things quite a bit. Okay, could I get a motion?
I move that we authorize administration to execute the federal aid agreement for 500 West Phase 2.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Okay, item number 17, proposed ordinance 2023-05, amending the Syracuse City Code in section 4.10.130 related to non-gravity sewer regulations. Okay, we had a very extensive work session regarding this, to which our wonderful city attorney sorted out all of the comments made, and where that landed is what you see here. So,
and I did want to let the city council know, I don't know that we really delved too deeply into the special service district requirements, but that would require work through the city, because to create a special service district, it would have to go through either a county or a city. So the city would have to take some steps to then create a special service district, if that is something the city council was willing to do, if there was an application or something before the city council that required that.
Is that something that we could, at the time, if it was broached, we could say yay or nay to, or is that something that if we include it in this, it binds us?
It doesn't bind you, but always when there's a scenario that might prohibit a certain development from going forward, there are always things to be considered. That's why we have a process to grant variances, because there are certain parcels that just don't fit within our regulations that we have to account for. So there would be discretion for the city council, but it would have to be something to be considered.
So it would still remain a legislative decision to instigate, approve a special services district at the
Yes.
time. And that's all I was concerned about, was ensuring that somebody had the ability, if stars aligned and it made sense and a development actually could work out, you know.
Okay.
If it won't, yeah.
There is one section I wanted to just look at and make sure that everyone understands. In section C, basically the way this reads is, if there is not gravity to a lot, there is no way to do a grinder pump and build on that lot. Was that our intention?
Can we see it? I don't have my electronic.
Well, so the way it reads, and I'm sure they can put it up there. It says an individual grinder pump unit designed, let's see, where was it? Designed to serve a specific residential commercial structure is prohibited where a connection to a gravity sewer discharge system is possible and may only be installed with a backwater valve approved by the city engineer in buildings under the following circumstances. And it talks about maybe the basement's too low, or in an ADU. But what it doesn't address is, if it does not have a gravity sewer discharge system attached to the lot, what are their options? And if our option is too bad, then that's the way this reads right now.
I thought.
It's actually kind of vague on the whole.
I thought this was my interpretation, so tell me if I'm wrong. But I thought it was saying on that last item too, that you can still have an individual grinder pump, but you have to get it to a level where it can gravity drain.
Mhm.
That was my
Yeah.
understanding.
Yeah.
So you could still do it, but you just have to, you have to get it to a gravity drain.
Oh, yeah. Is that,
That's what I think.
and maybe that's what we intended. I just want to make sure that I
I
understood.
think
Because
that
that's
was
what
the
I,
intent.
that's what I would want. If
Okay.
an individual has an individual lot and they need a gravity or a grinder pump, I would still want them to be able to do that. But it looks like 2 allows them to do that. As long as they
Well,
can still get it to
That's where if, I guess as long as you read it, it says that individual grinder pump units and pressure service lines must be privately owned, operated and maintained and may not connect directly to a city-owned, operated, maintained sewer system.
That's right.
Right, so they'd have to pump it up to get it to gravity feed.
To a gravity feed.
You lift it
Okay.
and drop it.
Intake would be a-
Saying if you have the option of the, because.
As long as you get up to gravity, you're okay.
Well, don't choose grinder over gravity fed,
Yeah.
right? But
Okay.
The other part says that you can't. You can grind, you can raise it up.
I'd interpret a little bit different, but now that I read it in that context, I agree. Okay. I'm good then.
Can I get a motion?
I so move we approve a proposed ordinance 2023-05, amending Syracuse City Code section 4.10.130 related to non-gravity sewer regulations. Please and thank you.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, moving on to proposed resolution 23-07, adopting Syracuse City Communications Policy. This, you're welcome. So we did not have a policy. And since this is a new position, staff felt that it was important to create one, and you've all had a chance to look at that. So any discussion, or do we just,
I like that there are guiding principles that just basically, it doesn't matter who is speaking for us. We all follow those. So then we're fine. But
First
of
Amendment
course,
still-
not you know, you don't have permission to just go out and speak for the city. But if you are, then that's great to have guiding policies.
okay. Could I get a motion?
I move that we approve proposed resolution R 2307, adopting the Syracuse City Communications Policy.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. Item 19, approve interlocal agreement with Davis County Clerk's Office for 2023 election coordination. Any discussion on this?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Item 20, authorize administration to award fire station number 32 architectural and engineering services contract to Galloway. And I'll let Chief speak to our process. We did have a process and we reviewed.
Well, first I want to say this was a pretty intimidating agenda, so I'm happy to be up here as soon as I am. So yeah, on January 12th, we sent out invitations for proposals for architectural design and engineering services. We received 6 bids by the due date on January 26th. And there are 6 proposals, I should say. There was a committee that was put together. The proposals were reviewed. And the committee had selected the top 3 and instructed myself and Deputy Chief Hamlin to check on references. Based on that, as a committee, we decided to bring the proposal to you to award the architectural design and engineering services to Galloway. The other thing on the very last paragraph on this council agenda here is just the process. When this was originally budgeted, it was over a year ago. And so we're sitting at about a need of an estimation of about $50,000 extra for the geotech studies, site survey, and it does exceed the current budget. So that's where we're at. I'll entertain any questions.
I will note that the 3 proposals that were selected as finalists were pretty close in price.
Yeah.
11,000.
Yes, between the 3. And this was not actually the lowest, but the references were far superior. So that's why this would boil to the top.
Yeah, and none of them really included the geotech stuff and the extras. So it seemed like we had kind of, I mean, we were going to get that cost regardless from what.
Yeah, whatever one we picked.
Yeah, it was. And that was likely, this is my first time doing this. So it was likely an oversight on my part.
I wouldn't build fire stations often.
For the, yeah.
No, I would.
So this will be the first one.
That's not what I was saying.
Right.
I
Not,
just
but
think the cost is.
that's,
Yeah, it would have been.
that's where it got,
Development.
that's where it got lost in the mix was when the original RFP went out, that was not included. So.
Any
We
questions
understand.
from council? Could I get a motion?
I move to authorize administration to award fire station number 32 architectural and engineering services contract to Galloway. Please and thank you.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Mayor, could I just make a little comment here?
Yes, please.
With the $50,000 addition.
Yes, yeah, well, that'll be done
That's still gonna have to be.
that'll be a budget item for the future, but as long as you're okay with it, we can move forward. But the geotech study, it can either be done by our selected architect or we can do it independently through our engineering contract. So it doesn't necessarily have to be part of the scope of work of this contract.
So
But we're going to need to do it anyway.
We should probably check and see if we can get a better deal with somebody local.
So what Brody's saying is it was planned this way.
Yes.
Happy little accidents.
Whether it's in this scope or not, it didn't need to be,
Okay.
but we
So-
do need to do it.
Moving on.
No.
from
Thank you.
this, Thank you, Aaron. We've moved quite quickly through our agenda tonight, and we are to public comment at the close of the meeting, where we allow any public to come forward and bring to our attention something that they might want to have on a future agenda or something they want us to be aware of. Is there anyone who'd like to come forward at this time?
I want to hear from one of these scouts in
I
there.
know. What's up with the scouts? What do you
Who
guys
So-
wants
Come on, say
extra
hi.
credit merit?
What
badges? I
troop are
guess-
you from?
Oh,
We're super nice.
Come and identify yourselves.
Well, not you maybe, but the rest of us.
We're from Troop 146 in Ogden, South Ogden, Utah.
Excellent.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
All right.
Good luck. He's working on his ego.
All right. Okay. So I'm going to close public comment and we will go to mayor and council announcements. We will start with you, Jen.
So our canines got approved for their vests. That's awesome. They should be here in probably like another 8 weeks or so. And the EOC has been started. I was actually in the PD today and there's a whole new wall there that you got to like go around. And I was like, this is new. They're like PS. So yeah, that's in progress and it looks great. They're doing a good job over there.
Okay. Jordan,
I have nothing to report today.
Lisa.
Okay, I had a couple of requests. I've had a lot of citizens asking me when Utopia will be complete. And it looks like portions are up and running. Is that correct?
There are
Yes.
two
So we-
phases that are up and running.
So can we get maybe an update in the next meeting that we can, is that something I can request?
It's
That-
on their website.
So
Okay.
the challenge there is that we don't control it, but we
Yeah.
can ask, and if they update us, great. If they don't,
Okay, okay,
that is the challenge, because we've asked before and
yeah,
give us.
okay,
I found the best way to get information is number one, go to their website and you can actually
Okay.
click on your community, see which area you live in, and tell you when they're expected to complete.
so like road by road. I guess I didn't
Not road by
understand.
road, it's by area.
So.
But you
Okay,
can put
so-
in your own address and it'll give you the.
Zone, okay.
Yeah.
Your
Okay,
addresses.
great.
Just wait until you see guys digging stuff in your front yard.
That's
And
how
you
I-
can also
Yep,
follow them
that's
on.
exactly,
Facebook.
okay.
They publish regular status.
So
Okay,
just,
that's good to know.
just to be clear for our public, the reason that it comes online as a zone and not a road is because the last thing that they do is the hub where they power up a whole section at once. So since that's the last thing, it does come on as a zone
Okay,
instead of as a road.
great. We'll probably know by getting a bunch of flyers from companies. Okay. So we had an illumination meeting and that's going forward. They've just gotten their 501c3 status, but it's not showing on the IRS website. And that's something that the city is a sponsor of, so it's something that we hold here in the community and, but it's going to be great again. We had a Heritage Days meeting with Cresta and it went great. Oh, thank you, Robert. That just came through. He just sent me a link to the website. That was good right there. Anyway, excited about all the things that our rec department does, and you're amazing. Preston and Leslie have this thing down pat. ULCT, I'm one of the voting members for the city for the legislative policy meetings. And so I attended one personally, a couple online, missed one because of a funeral. We don't have any of the same pressing things that we have in the past that have been so impactful to us, like water and things like that. But there was one yesterday that was about road width. Maybe somebody else was on that call. Were you there, Brody? Okay, so it was, the legislature wants to control how wide our roads need to be. I think there's a lot of pushback from the cities and towns because that's just.
Yeah, I actually got some questions about this too from other mayors. And one of the reasons why cities are really intent on keeping control of that is because we will have different, for example, we have different fire apparatus than maybe another city. And if they were to say, well, we're going to say that all cul-de-sacs can be as little as, our fire apparatus might not be able to turn around in that. And so the reason we would have that size of width for a cul-de-sac or a road could be because of what we have to service the city.
Yeah, I think that was, the majority was having that same pushback. So, and there was nothing else that, as I was listening, it was all the same things that we have with, there was a lot to do with funding for the areas covering the homeless as much, but that's been something we've seen every year as well. So there was nothing that was extremely pressing that I thought, oh, we need to be really careful to watch this, but that's all I have.
Thank you. Seth.
Yeah, just wanted to check on a few things. So do we have confirmation that we'll have an agenda item for CTC on
our work session?
Okay, I just want to confirm that. So they're planning on attending likely virtually.
Okay.
To do a little quick presentation on some options for mental health awareness
Make
month.
that possible.
And then I talked to you about this Cresta before, but the CTC actually is now holding all of their meetings this year in Syracuse. And I was trying to figure out how that was arranged. Last year they did everything, and in previous years they've done everything at Clearfield, and Clearfield donated the space as a sponsor. And they went ahead this year because member cities requested to have them, basically travel amongst the participant cities. And so they decided to shift to Syracuse, and the CTC went ahead and purchased the space from us. And I think that's great. I just wanted to kind of put this in front of folks because it's not a huge fee. It's a nominal fee. I think maybe $250 for the total year they spent, something to that extent. It wasn't a huge amount. But every penny, it kind of prevents programming. And so they do raise funds for these type of things, but those funds could also go to a better use if we're interested in supporting that. So I don't have a, necessarily a dog in the fight, but I just want to put that to the group to say, if we wanted to consider thinking about it.
I would just say that no request was made. We can certainly take up the question.
They didn't even ask.
Maybe
They just
we can
literally went ahead and
request
booked
them
it.
if they'd like us
It
to
was-
reimburse them.
Okay, so I'm going to put that on a future
Well,
discussion.
it's not-
Okay, yeah, thank you. Just food for thought.
Well, they paid it through the thing, so.
Yeah, they just went ahead and did it. They didn't ask anybody. And so it just happened.
Okay.
So that's all I have.
Yeah.
Oh, no updates for me.
Okay, I actually have a couple tonight, and bear with me because I'm going to need your input. The first one is just an awareness. The Syracuse City Orchestra has a concert coming up on February 27th. It is entitled Music Around the World, and they actually have several unique instrumentations that are coming in to perform either with or separately, including they have a mariachi band coming, they have a didgeridoo player coming from Australia. So this would be a unique opportunity we have not had in the city. If you want to come, the concert is free. It's at the high school, so free concerts, unique opportunity, wanted to put it out there. Starts at 7 o'clock.
We're currently all Googling what the heck is a didgeridoo?
Is a didgeridoo.
I think we're pretty good.
An Australian
instrument.
It's the tube one.
Yeah, it's that one.
I'm not sure that it's. either.
But they do have, they will be both solo artists and with the orchestra, but it'll be
What is the
great.
date again?
27th, Monday night. I always do Monday nights, so it's a great family activity. Okay, so the next one that I have here is, we have been asked, and this is going to be an upcoming agenda, but I want to put this on your radar in case you need to do some homework on this. Our next agenda, we're going to include a question for the council. This county is recertifying as an urban county for the sake of offering a community development block grant, the CDBG grant. We can opt out of that and not participate. Layton and Clearfield have already done this independent of the rest of the county, but we'll be talking about this at a future meeting. So just be aware that that's something that's going to be a question, and we'll kind of advise you on that. The next one that I have is, there is a Wasatch Front Regional Council STIP committee, which is the trans improvement problem solving group, is having a regional meeting, which includes 5 counties. This meeting will be in Ogden on February 22nd between 1 and 3 p.m. If anyone's interested in that, I will get you the exact details of the location. This is an invitation to mayors and council. So this is one that includes council if you're interested.
I want to go.
Okay, so I'll just send this out to anybody interested. But put it on your calendar. It is the 22nd and it is midday. The next one that I have that's coming up is this year I am on the state Northern Utah Trails Active Transportation Committee. We met this last week. There has been an awful lot of state funding go to this in the last couple of years, and almost all of it has ended up in Utah County. With that said, there is some interest in trying to get some north of Salt Lake, which to me signaled an opportunity that we should be talking about what we should apply for in trails planning. So with that, what crossed my mind is, hey, we have an opportunity that we might be able to use the Parks Planning Committee, or we could do it ourselves in council. But the question would be, which of our trails would we find most useful? And these are bigger projects, not like teeny sections, because there is a significant amount of money that can be applied for. So we could either use the Parks Planning Commission, or you could do it yourselves, and I'm asking to help identify trails that would be the most impactful to our community. And I think that the question goes beyond just where people use it, but also what economic impact that has. Because, for example, I think that the trail between our city center and going out to Antelope Island as a biking active transportation probably has an effect on our economy, not just our transportation. So anyway, so your thoughts, council, should we put this to the trail or
What's our timeline, Dave?
So we actually have until April.
Because I mean, I wonder if it would make sense to get the park advisory committee to review it and give us a few thoughts, and then we bring it up. I mean, I think Jordan's pretty versed on and has taken a lead on a lot of the trails related stuff, but I'm not there yet. And so if they could give me any insight, or if Jordan just wants to, no, I'm not.
So I'm on Parks now, but I would say Parks do it and Jordan, and then just put them together.
And isn't Jordan on?
No, we switched.
Parks, yeah.
Well, if you guys are okay for that meeting, there's just one council member. If you guys are okay with it, I would like to attend that as well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is
I agree to have the park.
they'll do it and they'll bring it back to us with advisement. Okay, so because I think that's a real opportunity for our city to try and chase that, and we have some support there. And the last thing that I want to announce that I've been working on for a little while, I wanted to do a business summit here in the city, and it's within the powers of the mayor to have a meeting with business stakeholders. So I'm going to have this. I'm announcing it. It's going to be on March 16th. It's a Thursday night. And it's within our budget. If council will allow, I would like to mail out invitations to all of our businesses. It's a very low cost, maybe a couple $100 in postage. It's stamps are cheap. So if you'll allow that, we could expand it to so much as offer cookies. That's not something I had planned. Again, this is a real low cost event. The purpose of this event is to try and I've outlined it in 3 phases. The first, the reason this kind of brainstormed for me was I've been attending a lot of meetings where there have been several business improvement grants and places they can apply for things that I didn't know about previously. So I don't know that they're really well known in the city. So I want to take the first step of share with all of our businesses the many options. I've got about a dozen different options between state, county, local, region of things that are out there. Just let people know what's available to them. So this is a service we would be. And then the next question would be kind of what is kind of happening as the climate of things that we're seeing interest in the region that have been reported from Wasatch Regional Front and to COG. So I'm going to bring in a speaker to help share that information that I'm getting and feed it back to them. And the final phase of that is I do want to ask the question of business owners who are willing to come, what do they need from us as a city to benefit them and spur business growth? This has been a real focus that we've been really active in this area. So I hope you'll support it. It doesn't require a council approval, but if you're good with the mailers, I'll go ahead with that. It's in our budget actually for.
There was one thing I attended during the ULCT conference this last year. Time flies. I don't even remember when that was.
Yeah.
But they did talk about, and it was in one of the sessions that discussed our adherence to the multifamily legislation that came out. But they did a whole breakout session on this this web-based tool for business locators. Does that ring a bell? I think that might be something that would be interesting. So you kind of go in there and you identify the type of business that you're interested in bringing into a certain region, and it'll give you demographic trends. It'll give you locational strengths and stuff like that. It'll say like what your strengths are around transport and all those other things. So I think that might be something that would be interesting to at least present. And I don't know if they do something in specifically our area, but there was a really strong investment in Salt Lake and Utah counties. But I think that might be something of
I
interest.
think it would actually be interesting to also present to them one of the reports we had a little while back.
The leakage report.
Oh,
Yeah, I had got that included under the what can happen here. Part of the phases.
That'll help them see where they can start filling it.
Mayor, we might be creeping into a discussion item.
Okay. Okay. So mostly this is an announcement and I wanted your buy-in. So I'm going to start announcing that this is happening. There will be both social media and some flyers that go out, and thank you for your support. With that, I'm going to go back to, did we resolve the closed session item or did we still have that open?
Yeah, we won't need it.
Okay. I thought that we'd resolve that. So there will not be need for a closed session tonight. So I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank goodness no.
Happy Valentine's.
We are adjourned in record time for this size agenda. Good job.
All of a sudden, people were everywhere. Now that's right on the carriage. Did you?